Your quiz tomorrow, you guys absolutely need a calculator. You cannot use your phone or your iPad. So you need to have a calculator that you know how to use all by yourself. Okay? Now, going through this, there's going to be different parts, different pieces. You guys need to show me as much work as you possibly can. Some of us are still having a lot of trouble inputting things in our calculator. Okay, I understand that. We have to practice. I'm going to go through some kind of troubleshooting things today a little bit to give you guys a little bit of a reminder. But if you show me absolutely everything you put in the calculator and it's all right the way you wrote it down, but just something happened when you plugged it in, I can give you partial credit for stuff like that. But if you don't show me any work and your answer is just completely wrong, there's nothing I can do to help you out. So in the case here where it tells you to describe the transformations, okay, some of you guys yesterday, when I say you guys, I mean college algebra, not just this class, were asking me what this numbers in the parentheses are. Guys, remember, these are our exponential functions. Those are just the bases of your exponential function. Those don't have anything to do with the transformations themselves. That's just the base, right? If it's greater than 1, then it's a growth. If it's in between 0 and 1, it's a decay. But those don't have anything, those aren't vertical shifts or stretches or shrinks or anything like that. What you do now that you've isolated and said, okay, that's the base of my function, now we say, okay, where are the transformations occurring? This 5 out in front, what does that tell me? Vertical stretch. Good. You need to tell me vertical or horizontal, stretch or shrink or compression. Yes?
How do you tell the difference between vertical and horizontal again?
Horizontal, or we're going to do some in a second, but it's going to be in the exponent. Vertical is out in front for shifts and stretches, and it's in the back for up and down. Anything that's in the exponent has to do with the horizontal axis. So when I look here, x plus 1, that's with the x up in the exponent. It's going to go left 1. It's the opposite of what we think. Anything with the x in the exponent is opposite of what we think. And again, I'll post all of this. If I go over here to 2, right, I have a half here. I'm going to go through and I'm going to just point to all of my transformations. Then I'll identify what they are. But I see I have 3. That half out in front is a what? Vertical. Got to tell me which way. Vertical, shrink, or compression, however, but it's vertical, not horizontal. That negative inside the exponent means it what? Reflect over y. Good. Reflects over y. And then what does that plus 3 in the exponent mean?
Left 3.
Perfect. Left 3. Opposite of what you think. All right, let's go down to 14. There's a lot going on in 14. I'm just going to identify all the different things I see. You guys agree? What is that out in front? Ooh, vertical stretch. Why is that a stretch? It's a fraction. Because it's bigger than 1. Good. What does that plus 6 in the exponent mean? Left 6. Good. And what does that minus 1 at the very end mean? Down 1. Perfect. That is exactly how you guys can write it if you want to. Some of you like to write out, this is a vertical stretch of what, that's fine. Or you can just point to it and just tell me like that. Uh-huh. Yeah, definitely. Thank you, ma'am. All right, again, right, this is a decay. But there's a lot of things going on outside of just our basic decay function. So go ahead, draw yourself some arrows so you see it. Point it out to yourself. There's a lot of stuff going on. Work left to right. Have some methodology behind what you guys are doing. If I have a negative way out in front of my function, what is that? Reflect over x. Good. You guys need to tell me which axis it reflects over. Very good. What is that for? It's a vertical stretch. Some of you are still telling me, but it's negative. No, it's not. The negative sign and the 4 are independent of each other. The negative is the reflection over x. The 4 is the vertical stretch. All right? That 3, Sarah, up in the exponent. That's going to be our horizontal what? Why is it a shrink? You're right. Because it's the opposite of what you think. Good. Very good. 3 is bigger than 1, so you think it's a stretch. But since it's horizontal, it's the shrink. And then what is that minus 7? Down 7. Joseph. All right, you're going to have questions where I'm going to give you the log, and I'm going to give you the exponential functions. And you have to tell me domain range, Vertical asymptote, horizontal asymptote, y-intercept, that sort of thing, okay? Guys, you have to remember, logs and exponentials are what of each other?
Opposites.
Inverses, opposites. All right, so in a logarithmic function, ln and log, same thing. What is the same every single time? The range. Very good. So your range for every log and natural log is going to be negative infinity to positive infinity. Now think about this. Domain and vertical asymptotes, that goes hand in hand. Domain is left to right. So if it's a positive inside our parenthesis, your domain is going to be from the vertical asymptote to infinity. If it's a negative inside the parenthesis, it's going to be negative to the asymptote. So let's find the asymptote for 15.
You said the range was negative infinity?
Positive infinity, always, for logs.
And what was the other one?
We're going to do it in a second. So watch. You set the parenthesis equal to 0. So you guys agree. I move 5 over. It becomes negative. So I have negative 6x equals negative 5, right? Divide both sides by negative 6. And I get x equals positive 5 over 6, correct? That's my vertical asymptote. X equals positive 5 over 6. Now think about your domain. Are you going from negative infinity to 5 over 6? Or are you going 5 over 6 to positive infinity? What is it? It's negative infinity, good, to 5 over 6, because this is a negative log inside. Domain is left to right. So when I come over here, I see a negative sign, but where is this reflecting? On the x. Does it affect our domain at all? No. So I'm going to say 5x minus 1 equals 0. Move 1 over. This becomes 5x equals 1. So x equals 1/5. X equals 1/5. Make sure you write x equals, or y equals for horizontal. So what is your domain? Are you going from negative infinity to 1/5, or from 1/5 to infinity? Perfect, guys. 1/5 to infinity. Very good. Now you guys told me at the beginning, exponentials and logs are what of each other? They're inverses. So instead of the range being negative infinity to positive infinity, what's your domain for all of our exponentials? Negative infinity to positive infinity. These are a little easier for you guys to visualize because our exponential functions have pretty much all the same characteristics as our parabolas. Negative parabola versus a positive parabola, right? What is my horizontal asymptote just by looking at this? Y equals what? 8. It's whatever the vertical shift is. If there's nothing there, it's y equals what?
0.
Yep, Sarah.
Why wouldn't the 8 be the y inverse?
So my range, think about this, guys. Like I just said, think about exponentials as a parabola. It's similar to a parabola. A positive parabola is like this. A negative parabola is like this, correct? So your range is either negative infinity to the asymptote, if it's negative, or it's from the asymptote to positive infinity. What kind of a function is this?
Negative.
It's negative. So what is my range? Negative infinity to positive 8. Never includes, because this is an asymptote. It gets really close to but doesn't touch. And then to find the y-intercept. All right, to find the y-intercept, you plug in 0 for x. Tomorrow on your quiz, you guys might get big numbers. It's no big deal. You guys have calculators, so I didn't really pay much attention to the numbers that I put in there. All right, show me what you're putting in the calculator. You guys don't have to put all of that in your calculator. You can think for a second and say, well, negative 2 times 0 is what? 0 plus 1 is 1. What's 3 to the first power? So negative 6 times 3 is negative 18, plus 8 is
Negative 10.
negative 10. How do you write your y-intercept? 0, comma, negative 10.
As ordered.
It will be an ordered pair. I wrote on the line next to it on your quiz, ordered pair. If you do not follow directions, I'm taking points off. All right, so if we come over here, what is my horizontal asymptote?
-4.
Y equals -4. Got to have y equals or x equals. Now, is this a positive function or a negative one?
Positive.
So my range is what?
-4 to 4.
-4 to infinity. Good. And then how do I find the y-intercept? I'm going to plug in 0. So watch, guys. 5, and then you have, look, in your calculator, 2 divided by 3, and then you raise it to the 0 plus 7, right? -4. In your calculators, guys, some of you, when you type it in, you keep that -4 up here. Is that -4 supposed to be in the exponent? No. There are arrows on your calculators that you can scoot your thing over and it'll move down. You guys see the arrows that I'm talking about? Top right, for most of the calculators, you just scoot it over and then it'll move it down. But when you plug in 0, guys, for x, what do you get out for y? -3.7 something. That's fine. You will get decimals tomorrow. You will get funny looking numbers. That is okay. I'm not asking you to graph this, but you will get numbers like that. If you guys are not getting that, right, when I'm done going over this, we're going to practice some more with our calculators if we have any questions. Okay? Yeah? All right. You're going to have questions that you have to rewrite from log to exponential or vice versa. Or you're going to have some that you have to evaluate. Guys, the easiest way to evaluate anything is when it's in exponential form. So if it's already in exponential, leave it there and evaluate it and then change it to log. If I'm going to rewrite this, what happens to my little 7? Becomes big. Log goes away. What happens with 3 and x? So this should be 7 what? X equals 3. That's it. So all they're asking you to do there is just rewrite. It doesn't tell you what to rewrite it in. You should know that. If it starts off in log, you're going to exponential. If it starts off in exponential, you're going to, there you go. Good. All right, so here we go. What am I starting off in?
Log.
How do I, no,
Oh,
I'm starting off in exponential, right? I need to go to
log.
log. So I write log, and then what becomes my little log? 1 over 49. And what happens with y and 5? They switch. Notice, guys, how I wrote it. 1 over 49 should be little. What's this tricky little one?
Oh. 10. Yeah.
What's 10? Good. This little this. So this becomes 10
X.
to the x power equals. Good. All right, so I had a lot of you yesterday. You rewrote it first because it says rewrite and evaluate, right? What I'm asking here are 2 things. I want you to evaluate this as it's written, and I want you to rewrite it. So when we rewrite it, do you agree this becomes log little 3 x equals -5, correct?
Right.
Now, I had so many, I don't know how to do this with my calculator. I know you don't, guys. But you know how to evaluate an exponential function. You know how to write 3, or hit in your calculator 3 to the -5th power.
Did you get the answer?
Yeah. What is 3 to the -5th power?
1 over 2.
Okay, I get 1 over 243. Or, some of you are going to get a decimal equivalent, which is what? 0.004. Either one is fine. The way that you get 1 over 243, some of your calculators do fractions for you, which is very helpful, I know. But if I was going to rewrite this with a positive exponent, do you guys agree it would be 1 over 3 to the 5th? Right? And then 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 243. That's where they got 1 over 243. Some of your calculators don't do fractions, and you just got 0.004. That is fine. All right, here. Don't try and solve this yet. I told you guys we think better, we see things better when we're in exponential form. So rewrite this in exponential form. 8 to the power of x equals 1. Agreed.
Yes.
Now, what would x have to be for an 8 to become a 1?
0.
Correct.
Would we get one that it'll be like a number to the power of x equals a bigger number?
You don't know how to solve those yet. I'll only give you something tomorrow that you know how to solve. We don't know how to solve these equations yet. You guys can evaluate because of the special rules. Like this one.
Wait, so would X equal?
Okay, when you guys look at something like this, do you see the relationship between 9 and 81?
Yes.
Right? What numbers should you think of?
-2.
2. -2, yes. But some of you are going to get this and you're like, wait, I don't know if it's the square root. I don't know if it's 1/2. I don't know which one it is. And that's okay. So let's rewrite this. If I rewrite this exponentially, an exponential function, as an exponential function, what does this become?
9 to the x.
9 to the x equals 1/81. Now, I told you guys some things to think about. If you're trying to raise a number, a whole number, and make it equal to a fraction, what kind of an exponent should we think of?
Negative.
Negative, right? So this would be x equals -2. Some of you are like, I just don't understand. I don't know that. Some of you, I had last period, somebody's like, I thought it was 1/2. Guys, what does 1/2 mean? 9 to the 1/2 power. Not 0.5. Well, I mean, 1/2 is 0.5. But what's another way of writing 1/2? What does that also mean? Taking the square root. What's the square root of 9? 3. But what's another handy thing that you guys will have on your desk? A calculator. If you're unsure, type in 9 and then raise it to the 1/2 power and see what the answer is. Type in 9 to the -2. See what the answer is.
What happens if you get a decimal? Is that fine?
Good question. Like if you're going to put this in your calculator, it needs to be 1 divided by 2 in parentheses. All right, come down here. You guys have to know these formulas. I'm going to write down some words. I'm also going to put it on your, the answers when I post it. But our interest formula is P times 1 plus R over N to the N times T. And remember, this has to have its own parenthesis inside. And if you're going to not multiply this together and have it two different numbers, you have to put that in parentheses. Remember, our rate has to be written as a decimal, right? As a decimal. Very important. And in this formula, this is when we're compounding monthly, daily, that sort of a thing. We need to know what the different n values can be. So let's write them down. If I have something that's compounded yearly or annually, I think I spelled that wrong. How many times does something happen if it happens yearly? Just once a year. If something is semi-annually, it's twice a year. These are your values for n. If something happens quarterly, quarterly is 4. If something happens monthly, how many months are in a year? 12. If something happens daily, 365. What about if something happens weekly? 52. Yep. Now, when we evaluate these things, right, this is the same problem. I'm just evaluating it 4 different times. Should my answers be really, 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 really different? No, they should not be. So make sure, guys, as you go through this, that you're inputting everything in the calculator correctly. The only thing that changes in the first 3 is the n value. So when I look at compounded monthly, as soon as I see the word monthly, n equals how much? 12. So I start off, what is the initial amount that I started off with? $1,500. So $1,500. Then I have 1 plus. What is the interest rate? 0.0365. Just because there is a decimal in my percentage, that's still a percent because there's a percent sign. It has to be 0.0365. So I have 0.0365 divided by my 12. And remember, this gets its own parenthesis in my calculator. And then I'm going to raise it to the n times t. Well, n is 12. And what is the time that we're talking about here? 7 years. Can you go ahead right now and say 12 times 7 is 84? Absolutely. But go ahead right now and practice doing this in your calculator. You're going to hit 1500, parenthesis, 1 plus, parenthesis, 0.0365 divided by 12. Close that parenthesis. Then close another parenthesis and then hit the caret button. You're going to raise it. Now you can either put 84 or if you're going to put 12 times 7, that has to be in its own parenthesis as well. So go ahead and do that. All right, so what are you guys getting? About $1,935 and about how much? 91 cents.
90's fine.
90's fine. But I need dollar signs and I need 2 decimal places because we're talking about money. All right, so my next problem looks exactly the same. But what changes?
365.
It goes to 365. So it's 1500 times 1 plus 0.0365 divided by 365, parenthesis, parenthesis, and I'm going to raise that to the 365 times 7.
936.
Good.
63.
Now notice, guys, when you do this, okay, if you show me exactly what you're putting in your calculator, you show me that you understand what this formula should look like. You remember what it is, you understand what it should look like, and then something comes out and it's crazy weird, I can give you some credit because you knew what you were doing. You just plugged it in incorrectly. If the formula is wrong, though, I can't really give you anything. So make sure you know it. But what did you guys get? About $1,936 and 64 cents, something like that. Okay, good. All right, if I'm compounding semi-annually, what changes here? N equals what? 2. Okay, so same concept. We're still putting in $1,500. I still have my 1 plus. My interest rate is still 0.0365, but now I'm compounding it semi-annually, so my N becomes 2. And then I raise it to the 7 times 2 power. What else can I also change 7.2 to? I can change it to 14. That's fine. But what'd you guys get when you do this in your calculator? $1,932 and 20 cents. Do you see, guys, how these 3 values are all very similar, right? Yes? Good. Good, good, good. All right, then we come to one, and you guys are like, oh, continuously? What? How's that changed? Who is our friend that we think of with continuously? A pert. All right, let's review a little bit. How do you find E on your calculator? It's on your LN button. You hit second LN. If you hit second LN, the E to the X comes up. So you are going to enter in 1,500. And you should write this down. This is you showing me your work. You write down 1,500 and then E. And then you're going to raise it in parentheses to 0.0365 times 7. Close your parenthesis. That exponent has to be in parentheses. And when you do that, what do you guys get? $1,936 and 66 cents. What do you notice about that value and the other 3? They're all almost exactly the same. So guys, you should not, when you do this, you should not get something really, really, really different. You should not get a value. You put in $1,500 and then you come out with $1 billion after you've compounded it for a certain amount of time. It's not going to happen. So just be aware of that. Be careful with your fingers. All right, I'm not going to get through all of these right now, and I understand that. I want to do G of X right now. I want to work through G of X, make sure we understand how to put everything in our calculator. Yeah. Those of you who have a calculator like Josh, hold your calculator up. If you have a calculator like Josh, all right, that has an N over D button. You see the N over D? You can just use that instead of a fraction. Then you don't have to worry about that. If you don't have that kind of a calculator, you have something like I do, that's totally fine. You have to put all of your fractions in parentheses. So when we plug in negative 2.4, this is how you have to do it in your calculator. So we have negative 5/4, so it's parenthesis, negative 5 divided by 4, close your parenthesis. Then you have parenthesis 3, close your parenthesis. And now we're going to raise this. You hit that caret button. Guys, if I plug in, it says negative x plus 2. If I plug in a negative 2.4, a negative 2.4 becomes positive 2.4 plus 2. You can plug in negative. Your calculator will fix it. But when you guys evaluate this in your calculator, what do you get? Negative 157.12. When she gets back. All right, so now I'm plugging in the square root of 2. Now I use these numbers on purpose so you guys have to practice this. So I have negative 5 divided by 4. Then I have my 3, and then I'm raising this. Guys, I'm raising this to the negative 2, right? Negative square root of 2. What's a negative square root of 2? So it's going to be the square root of 2 plus 2. In your calculators, when you hit second x squared, the square root button thing comes up. If you guys do these problems and all you do is tell me the answer, I am not giving you full credit. You have to show what you put in the calculator. You absolutely have to. But when you guys do this, what do you get? Negative 53 point what? 19. Okay, you guys agree? I haven't worked these out yet, so I'm not sure. Oh. Yeah, that's fine.
I'll put in parentheses, is that fine?
Mm-hmm. All right, what about the next one? We've got a lot of fractions and stuff here, right? So I have negative 5 divided by 4. Then I have my 3, and I'm raising it to the what? Negative 2 divided by 5, right? Close your parenthesis. Correct? Plus 2. Close that parenthesis. You might have to put a double in there.
Yeah, I got the same thing.
All right, so you guys are getting
Because I didn't put like a...
negative 7.249.
249. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so negative 7.25. If it doesn't tell you what to round to, just do 2 or 3 decimals. That's fine.
I didn't put like a double parenthesis.
No?
So I got the same thing.
Okay, perfect. All right, so now we're going to plug in just 7. So negative 5 divided by 4. Then I have my 3. And I'm raising this to the, what, negative 7 plus 2 power? Do I have to put in negative 7 plus 2, or can I just put negative 5? Either way, that's fine. Just make sure that your parenthesis, your exponent is in a parenthesis. What'd you guys get?
Negative 0.
Okay, what'd you guys get?
I have the same fraction.
Okay, now if you get a fraction, look at your calculators. You see right there that button? You can toggle it. Mariana, want to see your calculator? Okay, good. Now the last one, what am I plugging in?
Pi.
Plugging in pi. So I want you guys, Jonah, go ahead. I want you guys, negative 5 divided by 4, right? Then I have 3, and I'm raising it to the negative pi plus 2, correct? Use the pi button in your calculator. There is a pi button. Don't use negative 3.14. Use the pi button and tell me what y'all get.
Negative 0.356.
Negative 0.356. Everybody agree?
I got something different.
Okay, so I will post all of the answers, guys. I already worked them out. Very similar This other problem's very similar. We don't have enough time, but I will post all that. But this is what you guys need to know for your quiz tomorrow, okay? I will be here tomorrow probably around 7:15, 7:20. If you need to run by and ask me a quick question, that's fine. Just don't come in at 7:54 and say, I just have a quick question on how to do that. No. Right? If you need to get here and ask questions, perfectly fine, but do it in a timely manner. Deal? Okay.